Happy Tuesday, environmental science class. Today, you will be asked to do two things. One, write and submit your script on Schoology for your Phillips Electricity commercial. And two, record and perform your Phillips Electricity commercial. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform a mini commercial for you all just to get you all thinking about using evidence in your performances and in your commercials. All right. So for my commercial, I'm going to be representing Rahm Emanuel, and I'm going to propose a switch to the smart grid for Phillips Academy. All right. Good morning, Chicagoans. This is your mayor, reigning incumbent mayor, Rahm Emanuel. Today, I want to discuss one very, very important aspect of CPS, and this is going to be the fiscal spending. As you know, we have a looming strike ahead, and CPS owes a lot of people a lot of money. All right, so one way that I think we could save money is by moving towards the smart grid. And I've had a case study on Phillips Academy High School for quite some time. And I've been looking at their spending for the past 3 years, since 2013. And one thing that I've noticed is that we spend a lot of money on electricity and a lot of money on the fossil fuels that we're using to get this electricity. All right. So on average, Philips uses 110,000 kilowatts per hour each month. They spend about $3,400 on electricity alone, and each year that adds up to be about $36,000. All right. So what we need to observe and understand is that if we move toward the smart grid and towards more renewable resources, such as solar power, I think solar power will be a very good resource for Philips. If we use cha-ching, these photovoltaic cells, which capture the sunlight and convert it into electricity, we will wind up saving money in the long run, and Philips won't have to spend nearly as much money on electricity. In fact, they can make money by selling it back to ComEd as a consumer and a producer. All right, so let's just consider that option and save Philips roughly $40,000 a year. All right, this has been your man.
Good morning, Phillips Academy staff and students. My name is Matthew Sullivan, and I'm here to talk about the Phillips electricity bill. Phillips electricity bill is way too high for our school, especially for the size of our school. What we need to do is find a way to lower the electricity bill so that we can use that money for things that will be more beneficial to the school as a whole. Currently, Phillips' electricity is currently on a mix of coal, natural gas, and nuclear energy. Based on the 2011 ComEd bill, 44% is coming from coal, 40% from nuclear energy, 12% from natural gas, and 4% from sustainable resources. As you can see, the sustainable resources is very low, and we need to make it so that the sustainable resources such as solar power, wind, and biomass is the majority of what we're using for electricity. Um, for example, solar power will be much more beneficial to us because it's a renewable resource. It comes from the sun. It'll be more accessible and less cost efficient for Philips electricity. Um, Especially for our school, on average, we use about $3,500 for electricity, and that money can go towards other things for our school, such as textbooks, new computers, and equipment for our classrooms. Um, Based off of where we get our electricity from now, it's the current electric grid, and the best thing for us right now would be to switch over to the smart grid. The smart grid is a new and modernized version of the current grid we use today. The smart grid is based off of renewable resources such as solar power, wind, biomass, etc. It's much more accessible. It's less cost efficient. It's and it'll be easier to use for Phillips and for our homes as a whole. We could easily set the smart grid up in the school and use it for our electricity, and we would be able to use it based off of just a computer or a phone to turn off the electricity. Um, I know myself that the electricity is used even when we're not in school, but like on our breaks or on the weekends, and that is going into our bill, which is way too high. So we need to use the smart grid and our sustainable resources to lower our electricity bill.
School should move to the smart grid. It would definitely save us a lot of money and save a lot of energy. The electricity we use in the building is much larger than it has to be. Okay? The graph for our electrical consumption shows that in the summer months of June and July, the light bill was the lowest of all year with only about $1,500. The winter months, when the buildings has to be heated, the bill average was about $3,500 per month. Once we switch to the smart grid, we can cut down on express and try to come up to a solution. On average, Phillips, 9 p.m. to 5 p.m., it would easily help Phillips save money and power that can be used for other things.
Should they change to the smart grid in Wendell Phillips? This high school sure does use a lot of electricity every year. They need to be able to cut down on electricity in the building, which will help you. Everything will be way better if your school saves money. They should be able to go green. Having a smart grid can change the whole school. They need to pay the teachers the pay they deserve, new uniforms, more Apple computers, and Chromebooks in each classroom. Each light in the building should change to motion lights in the hallway and in classrooms. We need to change to the smart grid soon. This is Cisco talk.
This is Adam and Pat Doyle of the Bronzeville area. I am here to notify you of how we need to cut down the electricity of Wendell Phillips Academy. And I will tell you reasons why. Reason number one, Phillips electricity comes from coal and nuclear energy. According to 2011 ComEd Environmental Disclosure Statement, which measure energy consumption in Chicago from October 1st, 2010 up to September 30th, 2011. 44% came from coal, 40% came from nuclear, and 12% came from natural gas. And the remaining other percent for energy came from sustainable sources like solar, wind, biomass, and hydropower. Number two, Phillips and every other school in the U.S. has an energy recycling policy that is designed to save resources while supporting the education mission of the district. The building principal, engineer, and their area supervisors share accountability for following this policy. Phillips hours of the defined school day are considered unoccupied periods of time. The building system shall be scheduled accordingly to prevent unnecessary heating or cooling.
See?
Yeah, it got you this time.
Hello.
Hello.
Why have you come in today?
Well, I am the principal of Wendell Phillips Academy, and I was trying to figure out ways to help limit the prices of our electric, because our electric bill is outrageous.
Well, looking at your files, it seems electricity bills are very high.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
Hear me out. How much electricity does Phillips use a month on average?
About 104,000 kilowatts per hour.
About how much is the electric bill?
$3,400. What's your point? It's a big school.
Well, my point is that your electricity source is very costly and also unhealthy for the environment.
Costly, yes, but how is it unhealthy for the environment? It's unhealthy for the boys' pocket for sure.
Well, the current primary source is coal. Coal is burned to produce steam to spin the turbine. which creates electricity. When coal is burned, pollutants like sulfur and carbon are released into the air, which create oops, are released into the air. This causes environmental problems and health problems like asthma.
Oh, and what other ways is the electric grid not useful?
Well, you aren't informed on how much electricity is being used. This is a problem because it causes a very high bill.
That's very true. Anything else?
Energy is not being saved in the current grid. Electricity is being used recklessly. This can become a problem financially and environmentally.
So where should we get our electricity from instead?
Revert to the smart grid, of course. The smart grid saves energy and makes the environment safer. Smart meters inform you on how much electricity is being used so that you can monitor costs. When too much electricity is being used, you can know when to lower your use. The smart grid also doesn't produce so many pollutants into the air. Energy could be produced by solar energy.
How does this saving energy thing that you mentioned work?
When energy is not being used, it is stored and to be used later. For example, vehicles are powered by energy instead of gas. They are charged. When a vehicle is plugged up and not in motion, the energy produced is stored and it's sent back to the transformer. This could be sold.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so another question. How does the solar energy work with this kind of grid that you explained?
Solar energy is the technology used to harness energy, which makes it usable. Today, the technology produces less than 1/10 of 1% of global energy demands. Solar electric systems reduce pollution and CO2 by generating electric power using radiant sunlight that can replace electricity that comes from coal-fired electrical plants. A solar system adds to your property value without adding any tax liability.
Okay, so how much is we talking here?
Well, installation is free of cost. Also, the price of maintenance is very low.
Oh, I understand now. I will see to if at Phillips Academy we race the smart grid, we can spend those thousands of dollars on more books and tools to better our students' education.
Very smart idea.
Thank you, Miss. You have steered me in the right direction.
No problem. To be smart about electricity, we must convert to the smart grid.
Agreed.
Why should we use the electric grid that burns fossil fuels for a source of energy? Fossil fuels release CO2 into our atmosphere, which is negative to our environment and pollutes the air we breathe. Phillips can switch to a smart grid which relies on renewable energy. Renewable energy resources do not negatively affect our atmosphere, environment, nor school. Hi, I'm a concerned student speaking to the faculty and Mr. Sullivan. On average, Phillips uses nearly $4,000 a month on electricity, while our parents spends about $50 to $80 monthly on electricity. Isn't that a big difference? Yeah, those numbers are outrageous. And we don't even have new books and utilities to use. If we switch to a smart grid, we would save thousands of dollars and can put that money towards effective stuff for our school's needs. The smart grid is newer and will affect Phillips in a positive way. They will notice how much money there will be left over and how it's a better option. The smart grid is a two-way communication technology and computer processing that has been around for decades in our industry, from power plants to wind farms, all the way to consumers of electricity in homes and businesses. We can also put our excess money into buying new supplies that our school needs. The smart grid will add resiliency to our electric power source and will make it better prepared to address emergencies such as severe storms, earthquakes, large solar flares, and terrorist attacks. The smart grid will allow for automatic rerouting when our electricity equipment fails or outages occur. This will minimize outages and minimize the effects they do when it occurs. When the power grid occurs, the smart grid will detect and insulate the outages, containing them before they increase to a larger scale. Imagine being in school and outside you see nothing but white. A blizzard is coming in strong. you'd expect your electricity would stay on, right? Well, I have bad news. These situations are common during winter. There's about a 50% chance that your school will be hit with a blackout. Imagine all of the lights shutting down in your classroom and your school is left without power. You're sitting in a dark room wondering when will the power get cut on. It's stated power lines are typically down for about a week. Picture going to school plunged into darkness. Doesn't sound fun, does it? This situation is more common than you think. With the electric grid we rely on, when power lines are down, your electricity source is not available. With the smart grid, there is electricity technology to prevent this. You do not know when power outages, but you do not know when power outages will occur. But when it does, the smart grid has detectors along the transmission lines to detect the threat and reroute it. This means you will not be left powerless. The smart grid is a better energy source because it's more advanced, more informative, and relies on renewable resources. The renewable resources it relies on includes solar power, wind power, biomass, and hydropower. I believe that if we were to rely on the smart grid, the best type of renewable energy resource for Chicago would be wind power because of the lake. By the lake, there is an excellent, reliable amount of energy from wind flowing. If we do have turbines by the lake for the smart grid, this would be a perfect source because it does not release pollution and because of the wind source. I believe that we should switch to the smart grid for many reasons, and it would better benefit our school. Goodbye.
My name is Jamal. I am an electrical contractor at ComEd.
My name is Adonis. I'm also an electrical contractor at ComEd.
And I'm Greg Wallace. I'm also an electrical contractor at ComEd.
In our recent findings, statistics show that Wendell Phillips Academy uses over 110,000 kilowatt hours, which is an enormous amount of energy consumption.
Annually, Phillips also spends $4,000 every month when we can be using the same money to invest in instruments to help us convert renewable resources to like electric energy, wind, and sunlight. By converting the renewable resources into electric energy, the resources will last longer and it will be like more reliable when it comes to doing that.
Well, in our research, we also found that if we switch over to the smart grid, Wendell Phillips will be able to save more money, more time, and
like when the smart grid is installed, the smart appliances, like the smart meter, will save electricity when nothing is being used by reducing energy consumption.
Currently, Phillips uses the regular grid now, which uses non-renewable resources that now affects our atmosphere by polluting it with dangerous gases like CO2.
Solar panels would be better. Will be a better choice because solar panels will best suit Wendell Phillips Academy and its electricity needs.
well, solar panels convert sunlight into electricity using the photovoltaic cells made from silicone that's inside of the solar panels.
How we would do this, we would get a grant from Bill Gates to help us with the funds that we need to switch a smart grid to the solar panels.
This will not only make this better for Phillips, but our community and economy, because now with using renewable resources, these renewable resources are not polluting the air and the atmosphere.
By using solar panels, we will be able to install them on the roof of the school so that they could get the necessary amount of sunlight that will have to be generated into the amount of electricity that will be needed to power the whole school.
These solar panels will be put on the roof because the sunlight hits the roof the most.
In that way, the The solar panels will get all the necessary sunlight that is needed to convert the sunlight into electricity to power the whole school.
There you have it.